Good day, ma'am. I am Jovel Sagusay from BSHM 3B, and this is my chapter 12 entitled Laws Related to Tourism Investment and Finance. So before we proceed to the report, here is the list of the learning objectives. So the first one is to enumerate the procedure in setting up a tourism-oriented business. Second, explain the laws governing tourism investment and financing, tourism-oriented projects. And third, discuss the business models applicable to tourism project. Fourth is enumerate the various taxes application to tourism-related establishment. Then fifth is discuss the limitation of foreigner in tourism investment.
Next is in the topic outline. So first is investment and transportation business and public utilities. Second, investment in hotels, resorts, and other accommodation establishment. Third is application of retail trade law of the restaurants and shop. Next is tourism project under the build, operate, and transfer or BOT program. And lastly, applicable, negotiable instrument and document of the title.
So, it has been the policy of the state to recognize the indispensable role of the private sector like the tourism industry and private incentives for its need investments. This chapter deals with the laws related to promotion, monitoring, and regulation of tourism investment and finance in the country. Basically, this will be tackle the participation of foreign investors and will incentives given the Filipinos in case they will invest in the tourism industry. Special laws are even created to address needs to certain sectors like in the informal sectors, Filipino balikbayans, and retirees and senior citizens. So the first one is the Foreign Investment Act of 1991. So, in Republic Act 7042 as amended by Republic Act 8179 on March 25, 1996, also known as the Foreign Investment Act of 1991, provides for the policy that foreigner can now invest in all activities and enterprises in the Philippines except those covered in the negative list. So, when a foreign investment in the Philippines is not covered or does not seek incentive under the Omnibus Investment Code, the foreign national or entity can ascertain the extent of allowable foreign equity in the enterprise so to be entered into by simply referred to the negative list and filling the necessary requirements with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So next is the investment in transportation, business, and public utilities. So, the state shall encourage equity participation in public utilities by the general public. The participation of the foreign investors in the governing body of any public utility enterprise shall be limited to their proportionate shall a share in its capital, and all the executive and managing officer of such corporation or association must citizens of the Philippines. So, for a common carrier such as airlines, lands and water transportation business, the operation involves public service which shall be granted only to citizens of Philippines or to a corporation or association organized under the laws of the Philippines, or at least 60% room of whose capital is owned by such citizen. In other words, foreign participation is limited to only 40% or 40%. In addition, the executive and managing officer of the corporation or association operating transportation business shall be exclusive to citizens of the Philippines. Next is the investment in hotels, resorts, and other accommodation establishments. So, by reason of the enactment of Memorandum Order Number 211 approving the 2006 Investment Priorities Plan on April 4, 2006, tourism has been classified as preferred activities pursuant to Article 29 of the Omnibus Investment Code of 1987. Tourism covers the development of tourism economic zones, tourist estates, eco-agri-tourism facilities, and the establishment of tourist accommodation facilities like hotels, resorts, and other tourism accommodation facilities such as apartels, pensions house, tourist inns, and similar establishments. So, in discussion of the law, thus, in order for tourism accommodation facilities to be entitled for registration under the Investment Priorities Plan, an applicant must satisfy the Board of Investment that he is a citizen of Philippines in case of applicant in a natural person, or in case of the partnership or any other association, it is organized under the Philippine laws, and that at least 60% of its capital is owned and controlled by citizens of the Philippines. Or in case of corporation or corporative, it is organized under the Philippine law that at least 60% of the capital stock outstanding and entitled to vote is owned and held by Philippines national of defined under the Article 15 of Omnibus Investment Code, and at least 60% of the member of the board of director and citizens of the Philippines. So, next is the application of the retail trades law for restaurants and shops. So, restaurants and other tourism-related establishments such as department store and shop are governed by the law on retail trade by reason of the nature of their business. In the past, operation and ownership of this establishment were confirmed only to Filipino citizens of to corporate and association fully owned by Filipino citizens. By reason of the enactment of the Retail Trade Liberalization Act of 2000, foreign investors may now engage in retail trade subject to capital requirements. It refers to the Chapter 10 or the previous chapter, and laws regulating restaurant and other tourism-related establishment. So, in discussion of the law, the following sales transactions are exempted under the coverage of the Retail Trade Liberalization Act of 2000 and are therefore allowed 100% foreign ownership participation. So, the first one is by a manufacturer, processor, laborer, or worker to a general public and product manufactured, processed or produced by him if his capital does not exceed 100,000 pesos. Second is by a manufacturer or his product is a single outlet, irrespective or capitalization. And third is in restaurant incidental to the hotel business. The next one is a tourism project under the Build, Operate and Transfer or BOT program. So, in Republic Act number 6987 as amended by the Republic Act 7718 referred to as the BOT law, implements the declared policy of the state to recognize the indispensable role of the private sector as the main engine for national growth and development, and provide the most appropriate favorable incentives to mobilize the private resources for the purpose. So the coverage of the BOT laws extended to merely to a government infrastructure project, but also to a government development projects. So the following are the themes recognized under the law. So the first one is the Build and Transfer Law or the BT Law. So a contractual arrangement whereby the project proponent undertake the financing and construction of the given infrastructure of development facilities, and after its completion turns into other to agency or LGU concerned, which shall pay the project proponent of agreed schedule in its total investment expended on the project, plus a reasonable rate of return therefore. So this arrangement may be employed in the construction of any infrastructure of development project, including critical facilities which for security or strategic reasons must be operated directly by the government. So, next is the Build, Lease, and Transfer or the BLT. So, a contractual arrangement whereby a project proponent is authorized to finance and construct an infrastructure of development facilities, and upon its completion turns into over the agency or LGU concerned on the lease arrangement for the fixed period, after which is ownership of the facilities is automatically transferred to the agency or LGU concerned. Next is the build, own, and operate or the BOO. So a contractual arrangement whereby a project proponent is authorized to finance, contract, own, operate, and maintain an infrastructure or development facilities from which the project proponent is allowed to recover and its total investment, operating and maintenance costs, plus a reasonable return thereon by collecting tools, fees, rentals, or other charges from facilities user provided. So that all such project upon recommendation of the Investment Coordination Committee or ICC of the National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA shall be approved by the President of the Philippines. So under this project, the proponent whose own the assist of the facilities may assign in the operation and maintenance of to the facility operator. So next is the build, operate, and transfer or the BOT. It is a contractual arrangement whereby the project proponent undertake the construction, including financing or a given infrastructure facilities and the operation and maintenance thereof. So a project proponent operates the facilities over a fixed term during which is allowed to change facilities user or appropriate tools, fees, rentals, and charges not exceeding those proposed in the bid or negotiate and incorporated in the contract to enable the project proponent to recover its investment and operate and maintenance expenses in the project. Next is the build, transfer, and operate or BTO. So a BTO is a contractual arrangement whereby the agency or LGU contracts out of the construction of its infrastructure facilities to a private entity such as the contractor build the facilities on the turnkey basis, assuming cost overruns, delays, and specified performance risk. Once the facility is commissioned satisfactorily, the title is transferred to a implementing agency or LGU. So the private entity, however, operate the facility on behalf of the implementing agency or LGU under an agreement. Next is the contract add and operate or the CAO. So a contractual arrangement whereby the project proponent adds the existing infrastructure facility which is renting from the government and operates the expanded project over the agreed franchise period. So this may or may not be a transfer arrangement with regards to a added facility provided by the project proponent. Next is the financing. So the rule of bank. So the General Banking Law of 2000 or the Republic Act 8791 was enacted based on the following state policy. So the state recognized first is the vital rule of banks is providing the environment conducive to a sustained development of national economy, and second is the fiduciary nature of bank that requires high standards or integrity and performance, and its furtherance thereof, the state shall promote and maintain a stable and efficient banking and financing system that globally competitive, dynamic, and responsive to a demand of the developing economy. So the term bank is generally a corporation formed for a purposes of maintaining savings accounts and checking accounts, ensuring loans and credits, and dealing in a negotiable securities issued by the governmental entities and corporations. So banks earn money by investing their consumers' deposit. In order to protect the consumers against loss, banks are strictly regulated by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Next is the credit cards. So under the section 3, a credit card is any card or plate coupon, book, or other credit devices exceeding for the purpose of obtaining money, goods, property, labor, or service of any things of value on credit. So in the discussion of the law, a credit card is defined as a small card establishing the right of the holder to credit on a certain purchases such as meals, lodgings, gasoline, or merchandise. It is a wallet-sized identification card that enables its holder to buy product and obtain service and credit from one of variety of business firms. Next is the business models. So, joint venture. So, in a joint venture, which is similar to a partnership or two or more persons bind themselves to contribute money, property or industry with the intention of dividing the profits among themselves. So, the discussion of the law, so the constitution of the joint venture, there must be an agreement to enter the undertaking in the object of which parties have community of interest and common purpose in performance, and each of the parties must have an equal voice of manner of its performance and control over agency used therein through one may entice performance to other. So, a joint venture is distinguished from a partnership in such a way of the joint venture may or may not attain a juridical personality. So, if qualified as a partnership under the civil code, it is a taxable of a corporation and is not qualified as a partnership. It has no juridical personality. So, next is the franchising. So, a franchising is a privilege given to a dealer by a franchise service organization to sell the franchisor product or services, including trademark and trade names and is given area with or without exclusivity. So, in discussion of the law, the franchise is a license from an owner of the trademark of trade name permitting another to sell a product or services under the name of mark. More broadly, state as a franchise has involved into an elaborate agreement under which the franchises undertaken to conduct business or to sell a product or services in accordance with methods and procedure prescribing by the franchisor, and the franchisor undertake to assist the franchising or the franchises through advertising, promotion, and other advisory services. Next is the Barangay Micro Business Enterprise Law. So, the Barangay Micro Business Enterprise Law, or the BMBE Act of 2002, or the Republic Act 9178 on July 22, 2002, was enacted to hasten to the country in economic development by encouraging the formation and growth of barangay micro-business enterprises which effectively serve as a seedbed of Filipino entrepreneurial talents and integrated those in the informal sector with the mainstream economy through the rationalization of the bureaucratic restriction, the active intervention of the government, especially in the local level, and the granted of incentives and benefits generate much needed employment and alleviate poverty. So, the BMBE shall be except from the coverage of the minimum wage law provided that all employees covered under the Act shall be entitled to the same benefits given to any regular employee such social security and healthcare benefits. So, before we end this chapter, so according to Jose Ma Concepcion, the third founder of Go Negosyo Summit, teach men have to start a business and you feed him many lifetime. And that's all about my chapter 12, and thank you.